tall man stood in line at the gate of a busy airport, his polished shoes clicking against the sleek floor. Dressed in a dark suit and a fine watch peeking out from his cuff, he looked every bit the part of an elite traveler. His eyes scanned the boarding pass in his hand, yet the attendant, a stern woman in her late 30s, glanced at him with a mixture of skepticism and disdain. He wasn't saying anything, just standing there quietly, waiting. "I'm sorry, sir, but this is the line for premium customers." The attendant's voice sliced through the air like a sharp blade. The man, Marcus Blackwell, didn't flinch. He simply held out his ticket, the letters on it clear. "First class, seat 1A. I'm a premium passenger," he said, his tone as calm as the marble under his feet. The attendant, a woman named Elena Ford, stiffened at his words. Her eyes never left him as she took in his demeanor, but her judgment had already been made. "Sir, this section is for our top-tier clients. You'll need to step aside," she insisted. Behind Marcus, the crowd shifted uncomfortably. A man in the line, middle-aged with a casual golf cap, smirked and muttered, "Some people just don't get it." Marcus didn't respond. Instead, he slipped his phone from his jacket, dialing a number as if the situation were of no concern. The phone rang only once before he spoke. "It's happening again. Shut it down," he said quietly, before hanging up and sliding the device back into his pocket. Minutes passed in silence, but the tension in the air was palpable. And then, like a sudden storm, the departure board flickered, and one by one, every flight on the screen turned red, canceled. A ripple of gasps echoed through the terminal, and Elena's face went white. "What's going on?" she whispered to herself, but Marcus said nothing. Phones lit up around the terminal. The gate agents began whispering frantically into radios. Supervisors hurried from their offices. An unmistakable panic set in, all of it triggered by a single call from a man they had underestimated, a man they assumed didn't belong. It all started a week before in a quiet, unassuming cafe in the heart of downtown, in a corner booth where Marcus Blackwell sat alone. He was sipping a cup of espresso, typing on an old, battered laptop. His unremarkable appearance was a deliberate choice. Marcus wasn't just another tech guy killing time. He was the head of Neotech Security, a multi-billion-dollar firm specializing in encryption and digital identity systems. If you've ever unlocked your phone with your face or paid for a coffee with a tap of your card, chances are it was Marcus's technology working behind the scenes. But Marcus didn't talk about it. He didn't need to. Then came a familiar voice, sharp, confident, and tinged with laughter. "The billionaire in disguise," Renee Walker teased, sliding into the seat across from him. Renee, a former college classmate and now a journalist with a sharp edge, grinned as she sat. "Still hiding behind hoodies, huh?" she joked. "Some things never change," Marcus replied, his tone smooth as always. The two of them spent the next hour catching up, talking politics, technology, and everything in between. Eventually, Renee asked him something that gave him pause. "Ever thought about speaking out?" she asked, her gaze serious now. "You've seen a lot of things, and you're in a position to make a difference." Marcus sat back, considering her words carefully. He glanced into his coffee, his mind replaying years of experiences. "I don't think that's how change works. People don't listen to quiet men in suits," he said. "They have to see the system break before they'll believe it's broken." Renee leaned forward, intrigued. What would it take to break it? Marcus didn't answer her then, but 3 days later, he booked a first-class flight to New York for a major tech summit. For once, he wanted to be seen, and that's when everything changed. At the airport, Marcus made his way to the front of the line for premium passengers. Elena Ford glanced up from her post, her expression faltering when she saw him. "Excuse me, sir, but this line is reserved for our top-tier passengers," she said, her words sharper than before. He held out his boarding pass, clearly marked with first class, seat 1A. "I belong here," he said simply. But Elena was unmoved. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to step aside." Marcus didn't argue. Instead, he quietly reached into his jacket pocket and made a call. His voice was soft, but the words held weight. "It's time. Shut it down." Minutes later, chaos erupted in the terminal. Flight after flight was canceled, red alerts flashing across the board. Elena's heart raced as the scene around her, turned into a frenzy. And that's when two men, dressed in sleek black suits, walked straight through the crowd toward Marcus. "Mr. Blackwell," one of them said with a respectful nod. "We're here on behalf of the board." Marcus nodded in response. "You didn't waste any time," he said, stepping aside to let them through. They escorted him through a private entrance into a lounge, away from the madness. One of the men, shorter than the other, spoke first. "We hoped today would go differently." Marcus looked out the window. "Hope isn't a strategy," he replied. Word spread quickly. Other airports were beginning to react. Investors were calling. The whole system was crumbling under the weight of a single phone call. And yet, despite all the chaos, Marcus stood calmly. "Let them panic. Let them feel it," he said. The following week, Marcus had a private meeting with the airline's executives. Their faces were tense as they tried to negotiate. Marcus was not interested in apologies. He had a plan. "I want 3 things," he stated coldly. "A public apology to Sierra James, a third-party audit of your hiring practices, and a rehire of every employee who's been unjustly dismissed. Triple their salaries and give them leadership roles in equity and innovation." They reluctantly agreed. But there was more. The former gate agent, Elena, had gone public with an interview. She claimed that Marcus had been aggressive, that he had threatened her. But Marcus wasn't bothered by her version of the story. "Let her dance," he said coldly. "Let her tell her version of the truth. But the world already knows ours." By noon, the video had gone viral. Millions of views. Marcus Blackwell had made his stand, and the world was watching. Later, Renee called him with an update. Sierra James, the woman from the catering team, she saw the video. "She's coming to see you. She wants to thank you." An hour later, Sierra, a young woman dressed in casual clothes, stepped into the lounge. The two didn't speak at first, but then she hugged him tightly. "I saw what you did," she whispered. "I'm not alone anymore." Marcus smiled. "We're not alone anymore." He then offered Sierra a new role within his company, Neotech, in charge of launching a new division dedicated to airline equity. Together, they would create an airline focused on fairness and inclusion. And just like that, Marcus Blackwell didn't just change the system. He built a new one flight at a time. Marcus Blackwell's bold move didn't just disrupt an airline. It sparked a movement that resonated around the globe. What began as a simple act of defiance at an airport gate turned into a powerful message about the importance of equity, visibility, and standing firm against injustice. By leveraging his influence and resources, Marcus not only took a stand for himself, but for everyone who's ever been overlooked or underestimated. The viral video of his actions became a symbol of empowerment, a reminder that even one person can cause ripples that change the course of an entire system. Sierra James, once in the background, found her voice with Marcus's support. Together, they built an airline with purpose, prioritizing people over profit. In a world that silences the underrepresented, they showed that revolution doesn't always start with a shout. It can begin with one call and the courage to act.